Welcome back, everyone. It's time for episode 29 of the Horns Up Podcast, your weekly catch-up on all things metal. I am your host, Dan Kaplan, coming to you as always from New York. With me from Portsmouth, New Hampshire, in Rock He Trusts, it's Rock or Bust, my good friend and co-host, Corey Butterworth. Corey, how's it going?
Is that an AC/DC reference?
It is indeed.
Well, see, now I'm sad. I was happy. Now I'm sad because everything I've heard of that album is very no thank you.
It's very AC/DC, but you know what? As much as I didn't like Play Ball, I kind of had Rock or Bust stuck in my head. I don't know why.
That's fine. Whatever. Throwing curveballs at me all day.
Yep.
No, it's
changing things up at the last minute. We do it improv. You can't teach that.
Nope, thank God. That'd just be disastrous. It's good. I've recently joined the ranks of the Spotify Premium users.
I saw that. Tell the listeners what exactly prompted you.
I would love
to make the leap.
So I was listening to the albums I was supposed to review for this week's episode about 20 minutes ago, like I usually am. And I was getting through the new Bloodbath record. And about halfway through the album, it goes commercial, like will happen with Spotify. And none other than that commercial break do I get a advertisement for the new Nickelback album. And I'm sitting there thinking, Nickelback. They're talking about Nickelback. I'm trying to listen to Bloodbath. You know, that's enough. That's enough of this shit. Let's no more. Nickelback, you are officially the straw that broke the camel's back that is my free Spotify using. So fuck that noise. Nickelback cost me 33 cents a day approximately, but I will gladly pay a little more than a quarter per day to not have to listen to an advertisement about Nickelback once a week.
I was reading, apparently Chad Kroeger wrote a song about Ferguson, about the Michael Brown murder and everything in Ferguson. And I was like, great, because there's nobody I would rather have talking about it than Chad fucking Kroeger and Nickelback.
Exactly. Jesus.
That band just needs to die.
That was it. I tapped out at that point. It's all over.
I think... All things considered, that's a pretty good reason to part with an extra 33 cents a day.
All the other nonsense, I'm pretty sure they upped some of the commercials to like 2 or 3 commercials, not just one in between songs. And it'd be like a full 30 seconds of ads instead of like 10 to 15. I put up with that. I was willing to tolerate that once a week, for a couple hours. No Nickelback. There'll be no Nickelback grazing my ears at any point.
Plus, just imagine if you were to be listening to like something like The Ocean, if you were to listen to Pelagial on Spotify, and then you were interrupted by 2 to 3 minutes of commercials. It's like, no.
I gotta say,
no.
I gotta say, there are a few albums where I would probably get angry if I was interrupted in listening to it, and that is one of them. Pelagial needs to be start to finish. If anybody bothers me during that start to finish, I will end you. And that was part of it. Plus, sound quality's better and everything else I can use on my mobile device and all that crap. So I figured, the hell. I mean, I spend way more money on way stupider things over the course of a week. It's all good.
Well, welcome back to the 21st century. It's good to have you.
Oh, hey. I'm still going to buy my albums like an idiot. I'm still going to buy albums like a moron. That's not going to stop. It just means it's going to be easier to listen to these albums we talk about.
It's funny. I expected when I first joined Spotify, when I first got Spotify Premium, I should say, I expected there to be a drop off in the number of album purchases that I made, but there really hasn't been. I mean, I'm getting them all digitally. I'm getting MP3s, but I'm still buying a lot of music in spite of listening to Spotify.
Right. And the thing is for me, and I know you're similar in some ways. I mean, the bands I usually buy these albums for, I mean, it's going to be either an album that really, really wows me that I just like to have the files for, or it's a band I'm already, I guess you could say committed to. I want the discography, that kind of thing. I'll literally wait at midnight for it to come out, that kind of thing. So, I mean, those are the albums I buy. It's not just like, I'm going to go find 7 CDs I don't know anything about and buy them. I mean, it doesn't really work that way. So, I mean, the trend's not going to really change there. So, yeah.
Good stuff. Well, welcome back. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get into our headlines for the week. We've got some interesting stuff to talk about this week. Starting off with news that came out on Monday from Arch Enemy. Guitarist Nick Cordle has left the band and is being replaced by none other than Jeff Loomis, formerly of Nevermore. Jeff is going to be joining the band ahead of their upcoming European tour, which begins a week from today, November 26th. Up until that time, Michael Ammett's brother, Christopher, who co-founded the band, obviously has done a number of previous stints with them, has stepped in to fill out the remainder of the North American tour dates. I'm not going to share any of their comments because they're all, blatant jabs from the press release, all PR spun to shit. But this could be pretty interesting, don't you think?
I'm actually, when I first heard this, I didn't really know what to think. I thought it was a great move for Arch Enemy. But why do we call them Arch Enemy? Shouldn't it be Arch Enemy? Whatever.
It would be Arch Enemy if there was if it was ARC rather than ARCH.
But Arch doesn't make sense. Arch doesn't make sense. Arch, I think of the top of the archangel, I guess. You don't say archangel.
No, but archangel is ARCANGEL.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. I had a long discussion with this from my friends from, where are they from? I'm not very good friends with them. Trinidad.
None of whom can spell.
Right. Well, they're from Trinidad, and it was at Vakken. I noticed they were pronouncing it archangel. I was like, huh, interesting. I wonder why they do that. And that's why that crossed my mind. Anywho, I thought it was a good move for Arch Enemy because Jeff Loomis is a freak, and everything he's done I've enjoyed. I wasn't entirely sure about the move from Jeff Loomis' standpoint, but the more I kind of let it settle in, the more I am kind of excited about it, because I've generally, over the years, liked and enjoyed the way Arch Enemy composes and writes and performs songs. And I just think of adding Jeff Loomis to that piece just has potential for all kinds of awesome. Just put it that way. I mean, because even as much as the most recent album I thought was overall not something I'm going to go back to all that frequently, the songs I pulled from it I really did enjoy. So I just think of this piece added to it, and that sounds like a good time, really.
Yeah, I think so. As you pointed out, Michael Amott obviously can write the hell out of a song, and I think you give him some chops like Jeff Loomis has, and that's only going to make things easier for him. I think that might let him get a little bit more creative. I feel like Arch Enemy, we've talked about War Eternal. I thought it was, I'm with you. It had its moments. But Arch Enemy in general has just been I feel like they've been kind of coasting at this not great, not terrible level for a number of years.
Yeah.
And maybe this is the breath of fresh air they need. From Loomis's standpoint, he just wants to be in a band, I feel like. He left Nevermore. It's at least 2 years ago now.
At least, yeah.
So, for him, it's interesting. I'm going to pay attention no matter what because Alyssa's still in the band. As for Nick Cordell, I don't know too much about him, but I know he was in Arsis before he joined these guys. He's got those guys on his resume. He's got Arch Enemy. He'll find his way. He'll be fine.
And
he's got a good resume.
Yeah, he's all set. We don't need to worry about him too much. And the thing is, too, some of the takeaways I pulled from War Eternal or whatever the hell it was called, I think we've just established that's what the actual name is. I thought some of the weaker parts of it were, in fact, the leads. And I think of some tracks like You Will Know My Name, and the leads are just kind of awkward. So I'm thinking that you get that cleaned up a little bit. It's going to be nothing but good things. But I guess we'll have to wait and see either way.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll keep our eyes peeled for some live reviews from their European shows. Obviously it'll probably be a little while before they get back into the studio at this point. But Jeff Loomis back in the
doing stuff.
Yeah, doing stuff is what he's doing.
Thing do.
So yeah, we'll keep an eye out for that. Next up, we have a bunch of news from Lamb of God. Starting off, we've got rumblings of a new album. They've sort of been cryptically going about this for a little while. We saw they redid their website. They've been tweeting out things like "something is happening." ... from their official account, etc. But then yesterday or a couple of days ago, one of the band's gear makers, Mesa Boogie amplifiers, let slip in an Instagram post that the band is officially working on an album. It doesn't say they're in the studio. It still appears to be very early days, but we'll see what happens there. So now it's been a little while since Lamb of God put out any new stuff. Obviously, they've had some complications, but with Randy's whole situation in the Czech Republic. Yeah. But Resolution, it's been, I believe,
I want to say 2012.
It's almost 3 years. It was January 2012. Yeah. So, some new stuff from them. It's, it's high time, I think.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I can't wait to spend an hour liking 4 songs like usual.
Yeah, it's going to be the Lamb of God special. We'll get 5 songs right off the bat that kick ass, and then another 6 or 7 that are just wildly mediocre.
Whatever. I mean, every time they put something out, I get a little bit excited because I hope it's Sacrament, and it just never is. Either way, it's good. It's again, like I mentioned in an aforementioned top 10. The things they do really well, they do really, really, really well. So either way, there's reason to be excited about them being in the studio again.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. And they're one of those bands. It's funny because for as mediocre as we clearly think their albums have been lately, I still respect the hell out of them, and I still tend to get excited when there's Lamb of God news. I think mainly because Randy and the guys, they just all seem like good dudes.
Yeah.
They seem to have good heads on their shoulders for the most part. So, yeah, even though the music isn't really my thing anymore, it's worth paying attention to, I think.
I'd rather hear about all these rumors and things swirling around than say for, I don't know, Slipknot or AC/DC. I'll put it that way. So
Slipknot, by the way, who I was looking at this earlier, who finished number 1 on Revolver's best albums of 2014 list.
Reasons to not care about Revolver. There's one.
I can't take that magazine. I've never been able to take that magazine seriously, but I really can't take them seriously now.
I like Decibel. I like Decibel. Decibel's good, but Revolver...
Decibel knows what's up.
Yeah.
Decibel's list I found a lot more agreeable.
Yeah.
But back to Lamb of God, we have some even more interesting news from just Randy Blythe, who is apparently going to be acting in a Taiwanese action movie. For real. Randy took to Instagram to share a picture of him and Doris Yee, the bassist from Chthonic. They've been friends since they did Ozfest together back in 2007.
I was there.
And then he explained that he was over there shooting an action film. He said, quote, Freddie, Chthonic's singer, asked me, hey, do you want to be in an action movie we are making? Let's see. Let me think about that. Yes. So I flew here from Japan after Knotfest and started filming today. The movie is supposed to be primarily a comedy with lots of action and, knowing Chthonic, a bit of politics. Without giving away too much of the plot, let's just say there's a bit of civil unrest my character and the star of the movie, who's a really famous actor in Taiwan, participate in. That was one long run-on sentence. So Randy is good at many things, but not grammar on Instagram, apparently. But yeah, so the movie does not have an English title yet, and it apparently doesn't have much in the way of wardrobe budget. He posted a picture of him supposedly in costume, but it looked like he was just in a t-shirt, jeans, and sunglasses. So basically normal shit. But yeah, this is a thing that's going to be happening. I'll check it out. I mean, if I can.
I watched Dark Floors. I'm obviously going to figure out what this is too.
I mean, you saw Dark Floors. We haven't watched. I feel like we should do a podcast coming up. We should live tweet or live pod the Vikings movie that Johan Hegg is in.
Probably should, actually. That would be a great idea.
We have to scour the internet out and find that.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think it'd be that hard. But yeah, that'd be kind of entertaining because Johan Hegg, who thinks he's a Viking in a Viking movie, playing a Viking.
Yeah.
So it's got entertainment written all over it. Anyway, yeah, I mean, I guess lol. I mean, I'll check out Randy Blythe and Chthonic in a
I'm curious
movie.
to see what he does with it. I'll be upfront. I think it's probably going to be an abject disaster, but why not?
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
It's entertaining, and it's reason for me to keep my ears perked for the news around this. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be probably one of those things where I watch it and I'm just kind of like giddy because Randy Blythe is in a movie with Chthonic, and it actually has zero quality or value to it. Kind of like Dark Floors or Johan Hegg's Viking movie. So we'll see, I guess.
Yeah, indeed we shall. But so yeah, Lamb of God keeping busy on all fronts. We'll definitely keep our eyes peeled for any updates on that stuff. Finally, I want to share an interesting tidbit that could be a lot of fun if you decide to fuck with it. Popular car service Uber has partnered with Spotify to introduce a new feature allowing passengers to link up their accounts and play their Spotify playlist through their Uber driver's stereo systems while en route. So the way it goes is when you make a request on Uber, you set your tunage, you choose your playlist, and it'll be playing when your car arrives. The feature is launching in 10 cities across the globe, including New York, LA, Nashville, and San Francisco here in the States. And the companies are teaming up with artists like Andrew WK to promote this new feature through special events like ride-alongs, live sessions, you name it. I think this is kind of cool, to be honest. Do they have Uber up in? I mean, I'd be shocked if they had it up in New Hampshire, or if you would even need it up in New Hampshire. But Boston has it, I'm assuming.
Yeah, Boston. This is dangerous for me in a lot of ways. For one, I'm going to start finding reasons to take cabs just to fuck around with this shit. Even if I have no reason to. I need to go 2 blocks that way. It's summertime. You don't need a cab, but I do. I don't know. I mean. I'm never going to use this. I'll be completely honest. I'm never going to use this thing. Boston's a small enough city where if I really need to get from point A to point B, the subway system's
you'll probably walk it.
Yeah, exactly. And frankly, anything I'd make this cabbie listen to, I'd just be playing through my headphones anyway while I walk it, so it's fine. That said, I think it's really, really cool. I think it's a really good idea. I think it has all kinds of, potential, I don't know, maybe make cabs less shitty to deal with. I've been thinking, though, like, what I would actually want playing as a cab pulled up. And I keep...
Yeah, what would be the most hilarious thing you could play on an Uber trip? I'm trying to think of that right now. I mean, obviously, the obvious choices on this podcast, we could go with, like, death metal, black metal, all the extreme shit. But
yeah,
what would be... I might actually really try and confuse the cab driver. I might go with like baby metal.
Jesus. I was going to go with, maybe something Ziltoid based, get some dialogue in there, make it all weird and like a story. I don't know. There's so many good things that it could be though.
It depends what kind of Uber car you get too. Like if you get something sleek, go for some hip hop with a lot of bass and just bump up and down the street. But if you go for like a van, obviously, like you want something that's gonna make you seem like less of a soccer mom. So
evoking, just have like these dark, grinding tones emanating from the vehicle as you drive down the street at a very slow rate. Oh man.
You could do Lord Mantis and make the driver think he's going insane.
Or that anal band we listened to today. Because I still don't know how to pronounce her name. More on that later. Yeah, I don't know.
That anal band.
That anal band we listened to. I'm sorry. Anywho, yeah, it's fun. It's entertaining. I'm never going to use it, but I hope to God to hear some entertaining stuff as I walk down Boston's streets or whatever on a work day. Whatever.
I'm not much of an Uber user either. I mainly use it for their Uber T feature, which basically just allows you to call regular taxis. So I'm ineligible, but I think it's a cool idea.
Yeah. What the hell? Why not?
Yeah, exactly. So that'll do it for headlines this week. Let us move into some new releases. We've got 3 for you this week, and here's how it's going to work. We both took Bloodbath's Grand Morbid Funeral. We'll talk about that. Corey's then going to talk about Obituary's new album, Inked in Blood, and I'm going to talk about that anal band, otherwise known as Anal Nathrak, who put out a new album called Desideratum a couple of weeks ago. But we're playing catch up this week. So first things
side
first.
note, by the way, I did get to that anal band. Still have a couple. Yeah,
you did?
I got to all 3. So yay!
I listened to Obituary. I listened to Obituary a couple weeks ago, and I just didn't feel like saying anything about it.
That's how I feel now after listening to it about 3 hours ago. Anywho, more on that in a second.
Yeah. Well, anyway, let's jump right into it. Let's get into Bloodbath. Now, this is their first album in 6 years from the death metal supergroup, which includes Anders and Jonas from Catatonia, Axe from Opeth, and new vocalist Nick Holmes from Paradise Lost, who replaces another guy you might have heard of, some guy from Opeth named Michael Ackerfeld.
He does things sometimes.
Ring any bells? Yeah, I think so. This thing, I don't know. This thing is some kind of aggressive. I enjoyed it.
I did too. First of all, it was really fitting because I listened to it literally as I was leaving work today, and there are some long days down in Boston, and just walking out and it was just a perfect right amount of aggression, really. I thought it was a good album through and through. There are parts where I got bored, to be completely honest. But start to finish, I thought it was pretty solid. I do kind of miss Michael Ackerfeld's voice in there. I don't think Nick Holmes did a bad job, but I'm sorry. It's tough for anybody to kind of surpass Ackerfeld as like a vocalist for any death metal band. It's just that simple for me. But yeah, I don't know. It was cool. It was a ass kicker. It was fine.
Yeah. I thought Holmes's vocals were really suited to the style.
Yeah,
it was interesting because it was more or less, a couple places billed them as death doom. I wasn't familiar with Bloodbath before, so this was new to me.
Yeah,
a couple places I read, promoted them as death doom, and I really didn't hear that. It seemed like pretty consistently death metal with maybe the occasional flourish of doomy influences. The songs started to blend together a little bit at the end. I mean, I thought some of the earlier tracks, Total Death Exhumed was good. Church of Vastitas, which we obviously shared the video for on a Quickies last week, was really cool. Down the stretch, like they were all decent, but I feel like the band might have done a little bit better to shorten this thing and prevent this kind of same soundingness from happening.
Yeah. I mean, they could have done with maybe like one less song, two less songs. I gotta say, the closing track, Grand Morbid Funeral, I thought was stupid.
Oh, the thing is, that was solid.
I thought it was dumb as shit for the first minute and a half, and then they started changing stuff up. I'm like, oh, this is actually a really good closing track. But it took a little while.
No, I really enjoyed the title track.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was just me. Like I ultimately scored this thing pretty well. I don't know if it's just that I'm so oversaturated with my metal listening this year, but these things are starting to wear me down. These like random death metal albums that are super aggressive and raw, but also bring in different influences. I mean, we've had Valenfire, we've had like all kinds of stuff across the spectrum.
Yeah.
And I mean, for what it's worth, this was the 130th album I've listened to this year. And I'm just spent.
Yeah.
I mean, most of those 130 are metal. Many of those have been death metal, and I'm just like, So I'm sorry to Bloodbath. I mean, I did enjoy your album, maybe not as much as I should have, but that's really my own fault more than anything. So
those death metal albums, they keep sneaking in there, pretty much every week actually. But
yeah, we find a way to make it happen.
Yeah.
Bloodbath, Grand Morbid Funeral. Check it out. It is on, I believe, Peaceville Records. So yeah, do it up. Next up, Corey, why don't you talk about Obituary, since you actually listened to it recently, and I don't have anything to say about it.
I guess this is gonna be a bit of a struggle. I'm not gonna lie.
You could also not. I mean, that might actually just say it all right there.
I don't really want to. I thought it was absolutely... I thought literally nothing of it. I listened to it. It did nothing for me. I didn't hate it. I didn't like it. I'm just like, yep, there's Obituary, writing an album I just don't care about, song after song. Just, I don't know. I thought Violent by Nature was okay, I guess. I didn't like the opening track. I don't know, dude. I have very little say on this. I really don't. I was hoping to like it a lot more than I did. They're playing in Boston in a couple weeks, but it just didn't do anything for me at all. Like, I was bored by it. I really was, which is kind of sad because it's Obituary. I don't know.
Well, I will say this: it's out on Relapse Records.
There we go. They're hanging out with Eminem.
That's all I've got. So. Yeah, I mean, check it out. I like I said, I listened to it when it actually first came out a couple of weeks ago, Devon Week.
Yeah.
So, but it just didn't really do much for me.
It sounded almost like it listened like it was hard to write for them. It sounded a little forced. I don't know. I just couldn't get into it. I really couldn't. I mean, again, I don't think it was bad. I thought some of the leads were cool and whatnot. I mean, I would encourage listening to it at least once through, but no, it did nothing for me at all, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, there we have it. Inked in Blood, the new Obituary album. Like I said, Relapse Records.
Listen to it, or don't. We really don't care.
Yeah. So now let's move into that anal band, Analnithrak. Analnithrak, Desideratum. It's their 8th studio album, and it is out on Metal Blade. What'd you think of this guy?
See, I usually say I wish I would like an album more than I actually did. This is one I wish I liked less than I actually did. And let me explain. I kicked this thing off. I actually just finished listening to it. And I listened to the opening track. I'm like, oh, this is fucking weird. I don't know if that's good or bad yet. I mean, it's just fucking weird. And then it went to Unleash, which I actually thought Unleash was a cool track. It mixed it up.
I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. I was hooked on that track. And, they do a lot of weird stuff. I mean, there's like some dubsteppy shit in there, which I just still can't understand, really. They're all over the map.
It's what the kids want to hear, Corey.
Yeah, pretty much. Which sucks, but again, that's why I say I wish I liked this less, because that's in there. But no, like, it had some really cool moments. I love the way the vocals kind of went from like a melodic on occasion to melodic almost, I guess you could say, I don't know, almost like an opera kind of style, to like obviously the dark growls and all that crap. And I think the way it kind of, the vocals were layered with the rest of the music worked pretty well. I started to get a little bored by the time we got to the 6th and 7th tracks, but then Idol kind of got me back into it a little bit. I don't know. I thought it was kind of interesting. It was unique. It was definitely a unique listen, and I don't regret it. I actually saved it on Spotify for later, maybe at some point.
For uninterrupted listening, maybe.
Yeah.
No, I liked. I'm with you. I like the early going. When I first listened to it, I mean, I had never. Full disclosure, I had never listened to these guys before.
Me either.
And when I first listened to it, it kind of reminded me of one of my favorite albums from last year. It kind of reminded me of Soilwork's "Living Infinite," but on steroids. And played at like playing a 45 RPM record on a 78 RPM player.
It was fast.
just on cocaine, basically.
It was nuts.
And I did enjoy it. The problem was that like really early on, like through 3 or 4 songs, it started to get same sounding. And it was just pummeling, like really hardcore industrial grindcore dubsteppy blend all throughout. And it started to feel really long, which is saying something because the album is only 40 minutes long. It's 11 songs, less than 4 minutes a song. So it sort of started to wear on me.
See, I was actually going to say, well, I guess that similar effect, but in a little bit of a different way. That was the thing. The reason I actually appreciated the album as much as I did was because it stopped after 41 minutes. It felt like a long 41 minutes because, like you said, it was so abrasive and so fast tempo, so aggressive, but just the right amount of it. Any longer, and I probably would have been like, fucking turn this shit off, But part of the reason why I enjoyed it really at all was that I considered 41 minutes of this actually rather bearable and the right length before it kind of crossed that line of just being, all right, enough. Yeah, but I mean, I can definitely see what you mean, though, because it definitely felt longer than 41 minutes. It felt like a 50 or 55-minute long album. It just for what the sound was, it just worked.
Yeah, so that's fair. And definitely had its moments. Like we said, I really liked Unleash. The One Thing Needful was good because it was just a good song, but also because LOL grammar. And yeah, so I'd recommend it. It's something different. And on the Throck Desideratum. It's out now on, I believe, Metal Blade. So yeah, do it up.
Yep.
That will wrap up our new releases this week. Let's move into Horns Up, Horns Down, or as I'm going to call it this week, Horns Down, Horns Up. We're going to do our downs first because mine is a little bit sad, and I don't want to end the podcast on that note. But yeah, we're going to do them in reverse. Corey, tell me, what is your horns down?
Well, if anybody's been paying attention to the quickies this past week, there was an incident outside of a Guar show, and I apologize right now for not remembering exactly where the show took place. But across the street from the venue during this Guar show, there was a handful of, these, based on the Jesus signs, these Christians, basically screaming through megaphones, at the fans at this venue that they're all going to burn in hell, that Odor Sarungus is burning in hell, all this crap. And, it just kind of, it really, rubbed me the wrong way for obvious reasons. We all know I'm not one to fucking read the Bible before I go to bed every night. But it's like, do you know how many atheists you see screaming things that people should or shouldn't do in random spots in public, not all that frequently. And I understand this isn't everybody, but for a significant enough portion of these Christians, the religion has taken them away from just guiding them to be a good person, and has got them to the point of just trying to force their views on other people for who the fuck knows what reason. Like, who gives a shit? Honestly, isn't the whole point just to kind of let people be, treat others the way you want to be treated, all that crap? What the hell is this shit? Like, honestly. And I'm just tired of seeing it happen. I'm tired of, be it at shows, be it at festivals, be it at, a middle of a downtown area. Obviously in the middle of big cities, you'll see these people staying on ladders and, like, praising the Lord and shit. Dude, it's too much. It's like, God, and especially me, I don't care what people think. I don't care what people believe. I don't care if you worship a goddamn sock. Do whatever the fuck you want, but shut the fuck up about it. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. I don't know. It just, to me, and I was raised in a Christian household, the number one thing I always learned was that it's all about being a good person. Since when does trying to force feed people make you a good person? It's the people that don't care and let you be that, as far as I'm concerned, are knocking that out of the park more so. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a church burner, and these people going to these shows aren't burning churches down, so there's that. But I'm just saying, in general, just leave people alone, guys. It's music. Calm the fuck down. It's Gwar. It's not Behemoth. It's not Mayhem. These guys aren't going to go kill somebody. It's fucking Gwar. Let's relax. Jesus.
People don't understand the phrase tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah. I don't know. It pissed me off.
Yeah.
Dumb as shit.
I'm with you. Keep your religion in your way. Let the music fans keep their music in their way. It should be easy, but evidently it's not.
You know what I like to do? I like to figure out where they go to church and just like walk in with this big sound system and just start playing Gwar. Because as far as I'm concerned, that's the equivalent. Right in the middle of a sermon. Just be like, hey, Gwar. But fucking, we don't do that because we don't care. Whatever.
Yeah.
That's my horn sound.
There you go. Well, my horn's down. This is going back a couple of weeks. I could have shared it last week. I kind of initially was thinking probably not, because it's something to do with work, and I didn't want to blend work life and podcast life, you name it.
Naturally.
But I was still a bit upset about it this week, so I wanted to talk about it. My horns down is I had a coworker a couple weeks ago now who passed away, and it was a young guy. He was in his early 40s. Couple of kids, wife, just really suddenly. I mean, he hadn't been sick that I know of, and it's really upsetting. The whole office was shaken up, and it's sad to see. He was a good guy. I never worked that closely with him at the office, but we used to actually see each other at our soccer pub that we would go to in Brooklyn. We'd just be there on Saturday mornings drinking beer and shooting the shit.
Yeah.
And the timing of this is interesting because this will air on a Friday. The following day, tomorrow for you who are listening, his team, Manchester United, will be playing my team, Arsenal.
Ooh.
So yeah, it's something I'll be thinking about. Obviously really hope the best for his family and everyone close to him. He's a good dude. Rest in peace, Mark, and we miss you.
It's actually funny you mention that because it's all perspective, and it keeps things in perspective. A coworker of mine who I'll consider more of like a close friend at this point on my team, everything. She lost her boyfriend's sister this past week after a long battle with cancer, and younger than me. And that's actually, it's happened recently, and it's just we got to keep things in perspective sometimes. You got to live life fully because you just don't know. Shit like this is all over the place. I mean, it's sad, it's tragic, and we're all really lucky. I mean, me and you are shooting the shit about metal and things that piss us off, and frankly, things are pretty good. It's just that simple. So obviously, all the best. To everybody, obviously that we've discussed in the past few minutes. It's sad. It really is. But
yeah, tell everyone close to you that you love them, because You never know when something's gonna get snatched away from you like that.
Or better, buy him a beer.
Yeah, there you go. Well, anyway, like I said, I did not want to end the podcast on that note. So let's move back into Horns Up. Corey, what do you got this week?
But what I actually want to talk about is that I found my Christmas sweater, finally. For the last few months, pretty much since the summertime, I've been trying to find just the right satanic Christmas sweater to wear.
Oh, boy.
I found all kinds of good stuff on Shredder's Apparel. For those unaware, shreddersapparel.net or .com or whatever. Really cool shit. There's one where it's a Norwegian snowman. He's got the horns up, and he's got like a buttons in the shape of an upside down cross. There's a church burning in the background. It's pretty fantastic. There's a few with like, Krampus on them and stuff like that. But I found one that was called. I found a sweater on this website called Satan's Reindeer. And they just said, oops, we fucked up the typing, Satan's Reindeer. And it's just a big demonic reindeer face in front of a giant red pentagram. And I'm just like,
oh, that is wonderful.
It was like $35. I had to buy it. It should be here in a week or so. I'm all kinds of excited about it because Christmas is coming and Satan's Reindeer. It also was a little bit of a trip down memory lane now that we're a year beyond Face Break 2013. Because if you remember, our two glasses that night said, Hail Satan and Hail Santa.
Yes.
So this is of the adequate level.
I still have my Hail Santa glass.
Technically, the only glass that broke that night was mine. Kevin's, if he's listening, he will listen to this eventually. Kevin, your glass is somewhere. I was told by the bartender that it still exists, and I'm working on getting it for you. Mine was the only one that broke. Go fucking figure. So, yeah. Satan's Reindeer coming soon to me. I'm excited.
That's as good a Horns Up as I could ask for.
Right?
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, for my Horns Up, I'm going to talk about a keynote speech that Mr. Steve Albini gave at the Face of the Music conference in Melbourne, Australia. Steve Albini, you know him, record producer, member of Shellac, basically contemporary rock legend. He used this speech at the conference to express his optimism and belief in the health of the music scene as it stands, basically running counter to literally everyone else out
Everybody else.
And he basically postured that the only people who can sit back and say the music scene is dying are the ones who are at the top, who are making their money by ripping artists off, et cetera, et cetera. And it was a long speech. It was almost an hour long, and the gist was that he says, technology, while it has led to a decrease in music sales, it has also opened up the floodgates for new bands. They can record much easier. They can get heard much easier by a much wider range of people, and all on their own. The middlemen are just eliminated in this new technological age. There were a number of choice quotes throughout the speech. One that I picked out was, he said, quote, "I want you to look at the experience of music from a fan's perspective, post-internet. Music that was hard to find is now easy to find. Music to suit my specific tastes, as fucked up as they might be. It was all now accessible by a few clicks or maybe posting a query on a message board. In response, I had more access to music than I had ever imagined, curated by other enthusiasts keen to turn me on to the good stuff. People like me who want other people to hear the best music ever." He's absolutely right. I mean, you have stuff that used to be, you could get stuff that used to be so hard to find, or you would have to trade tapes with people and stuff like that, bootlegs. It's now all there. It's all online from a fan's perspective. From a musician's perspective, he talks about how, he has a band, Shellac. They did a tour of Eastern Europe, and they otherwise had no exposure in Eastern Europe before the internet, but now everyone knows about them, and they're able to go over there and fill clubs at the size of which they play in their hometown in Chicago. It's very interesting stuff, and he makes a lot of really good points. The Guardian has the text in full as well as video for those of you who don't like to read. I would highly recommend that everyone check it out immediately because Steve Albini obviously knows his shit. One of the better dudes in the rock and music industries in general. So yeah, just check it out. It's good stuff.
That's awesome. I mean, it's the best. And I know we've said things, maybe not the most optimistic on the show, but we have not been as pessimistic as some of the articles we've read and some of the things we've seen. And this it emphasizes it beautifully. It really does. I mean, just because Walmart's closed, does that mean nobody's buying things anymore? No. I mean, I guess you can look at it as almost as a one door closes, more doors open. And he's absolutely right. I mean, half the shit we listen to on this, we would not even bother with at all if we didn't have the internet, we didn't have Spotify, we didn't have all these options available to us.
Forget about bothering with. We'd never even have heard of.
Exactly. Yeah. You think we would have heard of that anal band? Hell no. I mean, which we actually kind of enjoyed. It's great. I think it really is. I know about more shows because of this. Going to shows isn't as much of a hassle because, let's face it, some of these venues aren't huge, but they can put on these smaller bands. I think it's fantastic. I really do. And I mean, let's be real here. If there's a part of the music industry I wouldn't mind seeing die, it's the record labels.
Yeah.
I don't care about them. I've never given a shit about them. I want to see and I want to hear the bands that I want to see and hear. I don't care about the middleman. If you can pump something into, if you're the middleman, then yes, obviously you have to go through that step to acquire the music. But again, it's nothing but a stepping stone. I mean, give me the bands, give me the music. That's what counts. Whatever. I mean, the guy's right.
Yeah.
And it's a great read. I actually did finally manage to read it on the way to work this morning. And yeah, it was long, it was lengthy, but worth the time. No question about it. Fucking long, dude.
I like his send-off quote was the best. He closes, he says, music has entered the environment as an atmospheric element, like the wind, and in that capacity should not be subject to control and compensation. Well, not unless the rights holders are willing to let me turn the tables on it. If you think my listening is worth something, okay then, so do I. Play a Phil Collins song while I'm grocery shopping? Pay me $20. Def Leppard? Make it $100. Miley Cyrus? They don't print money big enough. Steve
God.
Albini.
Brilliant.
Steve Albini, you are the best. So yeah, that's my horns up for the week, and that is our podcast for the week. A reminder, check out our blog, hornsupmetalshow.com, for more content during the week. Like us, follow us, Facebook. We are facebook.com/hornsuppodcast, Twitter @hornsuppodcast. A reminder, subscribe to the podcast. We are on iTunes, we're on Stitcher, we're on Podbean, you name it, we're there. Tell your friends. Yeah, we appreciate the listenership. This has been episode 29. It's been fun as always. Thank you for stopping by. And remember, live,
love,
plow,
horns up.
We'll see you next week.